Alright, a little 2-week update. Exactly 2 weeks since the last video. As you can see, the peppers, especially the foliage on the sweet peppers and the tequila sunrise. All these leaves are new except for the really dark big ones at the bottom. If you remember, those are the ones that I kept. I'm actually going to go and cut those off now that I have new kind of power plants growing. Power plants being the leaves, taking up that light. You'll notice that my jalapenos, though, aren't quite as bushy as the tequila sunrise and the sweet peppers. In the last video, if you look, I didn't cut them back as much. I actually like the jalapenos more than the sweet peppers. I like hot peppers, and this is all just to learn pepper growing on before I put super hots in. So the jalapenos are the ones that I'm kind of most interested in, so I was a little apprehensive about cutting them back a lot, and that seems like it was a mistake. I should have cut them back more because they are not as bushy as these other two varieties. Well, lesson learned. And then over here, if we come to my herbs, we've had some interesting things happen. They've all actually grown pretty well. You can see this parsley's really taken off. I finally have enough holy basil, which grows pretty slow, to be able to make some drunken noodles with later today. So I'm going to harvest some of this. Really interesting, this holy basil, a known slow grower, was planted at the same time as these spicy bush basils. So that shows you kind of the difference. One thing I did notice, though, is although I had continued good growth on all of these herbs, remember they came out of the NFT tower system, although I had good growth on all these herbs, I started to get some weird stuff, like the sage especially started to get some kind of crispy, dying looking leaves down here, and so I opened it up and I looked, and sure enough, I had some root rot going on. The root rot was worse on the sage plants. It was decently bad on this guy here, the spicy bush basil. Almost everyone had a little bit of it. So I've been putting every 4 days 2 to 3 teaspoons of 3% hydrogen peroxide per gallon into these tubs. This tub got its second dose of it yesterday, and this tub will get its second dose on Sunday. So let's see if I can keep these guys alive and going. If not, they'll turn into pepper plant hydro systems too. But yeah, it wasn't horrible except for on the sage. And here's my theory. The sage got it worse than anybody because they are the oldest plants out of all of these, so they had huge root systems. So they were these two spots, I think, if I remember correctly, or those two. They had huge root systems that went like almost all the way down. So I ended up actually cutting their roots almost in half when I put them in here. So that probably stressed the hell out of them. Also, all of these plants used to only get water over their roots for 15 minutes every hour or so. So I probably might have made a mistake throwing them into a Kratky system like this, because I don't know, maybe I had air roots all the way down my roots. I don't know, I'm still learning. But I might now be seeing the death of some of those roots and only the true water roots that were there surviving, simply because it's going between two totally different types of systems. That said, they are still producing, they are still growing, so I'm not afraid of them just full-on dying, but I am doing some preventative care to try and ensure that they keep going. What I will be doing today, though, is I am going to get rid of these leaves, like I said, so I'm just going to come down and chop these guys. So I'll get rid of those now that we have new leaf growth on all these peppers. So basically, starting fully fresh and new. And there we go. Fully trimmed up. I know this is an older leaf and he's not looking too good, but I did actually keep this because it's already on a nice little offshoot. So that's the only kind of old growth that's still left on most of these, except for the jalapenos. This is all new growth, but this has some older growth, but I didn't want to ruin the structure here. Oh, I am going to pull this little bud off. I do not want them flowering already. Speaking of flowering already, I've been watching a bunch more videos, and I have kind of learned what I might have done wrong, which caused me to lose a bunch of flowers last time. So I'm using master blends, and obviously the other stuff, Epsom salt and calcium nitrate, but that's the fertilizer that I'm using. And what I probably should have done is, one, top to them earlier so they got bushier before they started flowering, and two, when they switched over to flowering mode, I probably should have dropped my calcium nitrate content. So this time, I'm going to wait till they grow out nice and bushy. Once I like how bushy they are, I'm going to let them start flowering. So I'm going to continue pulling off the buds like that until I like how bushy they are. And then once they get to that point, let them flower, and I'll pull all of the nutrient water out of here, and I'm going to replace it with a different concentration. So I'm going to cut my calcium nitrate in about half and give that a go, because apparently all the nitrogen in that calcium nitrate it's good for the growth phases, but not necessarily great for the bloom and vegetative stages. And apparently Master Blend is a fruiting plant formula. Obviously it's a tomato formula, but that calcium nitrate's an additive there for the growth stage. So if you want the fruit and flower stage, just drop that calcium nitrate by a bit. So we'll experiment with that in the near-ish future when these guys grow out again, and go from there.